Okay, here we go. Hello. Hi, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about why do you think CLIL is more popular in Europe than in North America, and how is it generally implemented, and I'm going to use an example of a lesson I did yesterday for that. So first, I'll just briefly look at what it is. As Coyle and all state, CLIL is the integration of content and language. It is education through the additional language they term as vehicular language. Another analogy they mentioned, which I really liked, Coyle and all mentioned that it is essential for students to understand what the nuts and bolts are, but the learners need to build things with these nuts and bolts, which I thought was very important. So to illustrate this, I'll go to an example of a lesson I did yesterday, actually, where I think I follow some elements of CLIL. So in this class, students are studying for the Pre-1 Aiken test, which is a standardized English test in Japan. The test looks at general first-year university English vocab, as well as reading comprehension. And so for this class yesterday, I had my students read an article about the Canadian environment and how it has been damaged. Before our reading, I had my students brainstorm what comes to mind when they think of the word environment as a warm-up. Following this, group discussions were assigned in talking about what harms the environment, followed by discussions on how we can help the environment. Once this was done, we then turned to the reading, which was read aloud in class, where unknown vocabulary was underlined. I encouraged my students to do that. Homework was then assigned to find out the meanings of the unknown vocabulary, as well as answer the comprehension questions assigned to the article. So pretty much instead of teaching the said unknown vocabulary by itself, they were discovered within a context where these students can then use these nuts and bolts in further discussions regarding the environment. So now as for why CLIL is more popular in Europe than in North America. So I agree with other posts that there is a greater socioeconomic need of multilingualism in Europe as compared to in North America. The EU, the European Union is a very good example where economic interdependency exists, where multiple languages exist. In addition to this, I also would like to mention a power dynamic is also different. In the EU, there are countries of greater or equal power or even lesser power that differ in language. An example would be Germany and France, both countries I would consider having a fair amount of power in the EU. So in this case, CLIL then offers a solution to better communicate in this situation where the languages are different. The spoken languages are different in Germany and in France. Now, the situation is different, however, in North America. The hegemonic states in North America are English-speaking. So Canada and America, primarily America is the most powerful state in North America. And this forces, for example, Mexico to use English in the business political sphere rather than vice versa. Canadians and Americans don't really feel pressured to learn Spanish, whereas in Mexico it's kind of another story. Therefore, perhaps because of this, North Americans do not see the need to learn another language, specifically with Canadians and Americans, given that they already speak English, which they consider the growing lingua franca of the world. And on that note, I will sign off. Thank you.